Phase 1. The hook. Visual. Extreme close-up on a single raindrop tracing a path down a pane of glass. Reflected in the drop is a dizzying blur of neon city lights. The focus racks slowly to the cityscape outside, a vast, sprawling metropolis under a perpetual twilight rain. The sound is the gentle, rhythmic patter of rain and a low, melancholic synth hum. Voiceover. There is a feeling unique to our age. A quiet hum of anxiety that lives behind your eyes. It is the exhaustion of being watched, and the terror of not being seen at all. You curate your life, trimming the raw edges, presenting a carefully constructed mosaic of thoughts, images, and achievements to an audience you cannot see. Yet, in the silent moments, when the screen goes dark, you feel a profound sense of invisibility. A suspicion that you are merely a ghost in a global machine, your voice a single drop of rain in an endless storm. We will call this the ghost's dilemma. The paradox of being hyper-visible and utterly anonymous at the same time. By the end of this session, you will understand the profound power that lies not in being seen, but in controlling what is seen. We will dissect a case study from our near future, a ghost story known as the Laughing Man incident, to reveal how the architects of our world use this power, and how you can reclaim a piece of it for yourself. Phase 2. The problem. Visual. A montage of quick cuts. A person's thumb endlessly scrolling a social media feed on a phone. The faces in the feed are impossibly perfect, smiling in exotic locations. A cursor blinking on an empty text box. A reflection of a tired face in the black mirror of a powered-down monitor. Voiceover. You know this feeling intimately. You feel the pressure to have a take, an opinion, a brand. The pressure to perform your identity, day after day. You are both the actor and the audience in a theater of your own design. Have you ever meticulously crafted a comment, a post, a photograph, only to feel a hollow echo when the validation arrives? A like is not communion. A share is not understanding. It is a brief, fleeting electrical signal that numbs the deeper ache of disconnection. The internal feeling is one of fragmentation. There is the you that exists for your employer, a carefully managed profile of competence and ambition. There is the you that exists for your followers, a highlight reel of your best angles and brightest moments. And then, there is the you that lies in bed at 3 a.m., staring into the darkness, wondering which, if any, of these phantoms is real. Visual. A single, grounded scenario. A person sits alone in a sterile, minimalist apartment. The only light source is their laptop. They are on a video call, smiling, nodding, performing attentiveness. The call ends. The screen goes black. The smile vanishes instantly. The person's face slackens into a mask of pure exhaustion. They slowly close the laptop. Voiceover. Think of the last time you were truly honest online. Not a curated vulnerability, not a relatable struggle, but a moment of raw, unvarnished truth. The hesitation you felt was not just a fear of judgment. It was a fear of being misunderstood, of having your truth stripped of context, turned into data, and fed back into the machine that feeds on our sincerity. And here is the hidden cost, the quiet tragedy of the ghost's dilemma. It's not just loneliness. It's the erosion of the self. By constantly performing for an unseen, unknowable audience, you begin to forget who you are when no one is watching. The algorithm begins to shape your desires. The trending topics begin to shape your thoughts. You start editing your own soul for better engagement, and in the process, the original manuscript is lost. The ghost in the machine becomes more real than the person operating it. This is not a sustainable way to live. To find the solution, we must look not to those who mastered the art of being seen, but to one who perfected the art of disappearing. Phase 3. The solution. Visual. The screen glitches for a moment, showing static and lines of code. The static resolves into a stylized, animated circle logo. A cartoon figure in a baseball cap, encircled by the text, "I thought what I'd do is, I pretend I was one of those deaf mutes." This is the Laughing Man logo. It remains on screen, subtly pulsing. Voiceover. To understand how to navigate this maze, we must turn to a ghost story from the networked world. A case file from the archives of Public Security Section 9. A phenomenon known as the Laughing Man. The Laughing Man was not, in the traditional sense, a person. He was a corporate blackmailer, a cyber terrorist, a folk hero, a ghost. His genius was not in his technical skill, which was considerable, but in his profound understanding of the new laws of power in a digital age. He appeared in public, held a CEO at gunpoint on live television, yet no one could see his face. He hacked the eyes of every witness, every camera, replacing his own image in real time with the iconic logo you see now. He demonstrated the central principle for reclaiming your mind from the machine: radical anonymity as a form of power. In a world obsessed with identity, verification, and personal branding, the Laughing Man understood that true influence comes from the deliberate, strategic erasure of a fixed self. He became a symbol, a virus of the mind, a meme. His power was precisely that he was no one, and therefore, he could be everyone. Let's break down his methodology into its core principles. Voiceover. First, the power of the blank slate. The Laughing Man's logo, covering his face, was an act of profound philosophical insight. It replaced a specific, vulnerable human identity with a universal, resonant idea. The quote is from J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye, a story about a young man alienated by the phoniness of the adult world. This blankness, this symbol, acted as a mirror. It invited the public to project their own feelings of alienation, their own frustrations with corporate corruption, their own desire for authenticity onto him. He wasn't a man with a face you could love or hate. He was a vessel for the collective unconscious, a focal point for a shared cultural anxiety. You cannot argue with a symbol in the same way you can argue with a person. Appears, then connects to two others, which then connect to two more, rapidly creating a vast, interconnected network that fills the screen. Voiceover. Second, mimetic contagion. The Laughing Man never sought to build a movement or recruit followers. He didn't need to. His actions, and the symbol that represented them, were engineered to be a mimetic virus. A meme, in its original sense, is a unit of culture, an idea that spreads from mind to mind. His methods were simple, potent, and easily replicated. Expose corruption, display the symbol, and then disappear. Soon, others began to adopt his methods. Copycats emerged. The symbol started appearing everywhere. He didn't need to persuade millions of people. He only needed to create an idea so infectious that millions would spread it for him. He whispered a secret into the network, and the network itself became his amplifier. Visual. Section 3 animates. A complex document with a single highlighted truth is shown. A finger deletes the name of the author at the top. The document is then released, and the single truth multiplies, spreading like wildfire. Voiceover. Third, weaponized truth. This is perhaps his most crucial tactic. The Laughing Man's core strategy was rarely to create complex falsehoods or fake news. It was to unearth buried, inconvenient truths and release them into the open. He would hack a corporation and reveal their conspiracy to suppress a cheap cure for a debilitating disease. Then, he would vanish, allowing the truth itself to do the destructive work. His anonymity was his armor. By erasing himself as the messenger, he ensured the message could not be discredited. You can attack a person's character, motives, or history. But an anonymous, verifiable truth? It is impervious. It stands or falls on its own merit. The truth, once released, has its own agency. Visual. A single, powerful visual. A black sphere hangs in the void of space. Stars and galaxies behind it are being warped and bent around its edge. It is a black hole. Voiceover. The best analogy for this strategy is to think of the Laughing Man not as a person, but as a conceptual black hole. A person has a face, a history, a family, a job. They have a vast, surface area that can be attacked, criticized, shamed, or dismissed. But a black hole has no surface. It has only an event horizon, a point of no return. You cannot attack the black hole itself. You can only observe and react to the immense gravitational effect it has on the space around it. By erasing his identity, the Laughing Man became a conceptual black hole. You can't attack him. You can only grapple with the truths he reveals and the institutional chaos he creates. He transformed himself from a target into a fundamental force of nature within the network. Phase 4. The application, Visual. We return to the melancholic cityscape. The pace slows down. The tone becomes more direct, more instructional. The visuals are clean, with simple text overlays for each step. Voiceover. Now, this is not a manual for becoming a cyber terrorist. It is a guide to applying these principles for a very different goal: reclaiming your own mental sovereignty in an age of digital noise. The goal is not to disappear, but to engage with the world more consciously. To move from a state of compulsive performance to one of deliberate action. We will call this practice strategic anonymity for a sane life. Here are 4 practical techniques you can begin to apply tomorrow. Visual. Text on screen. 1. Conduct an identity audit. Voiceover. Step 1. Conduct an identity audit. For the next 7 days, carry a small notebook or use a private digital file. Every time you post, comment, share, or even like something online, make a log of it. Next to each entry, write down your honest motive. Be brutally specific. Was it to genuinely connect with a friend? To inform others of something important? Or was it to seek validation? To signal your virtue? To perform intelligence or wit? To quell a moment of boredom or loneliness? This is not an exercise in self-judgment. It is an exercise in data collection. You are simply observing the machine. At the end of the week, review your audit. You may be startled to see how much of your digital life is driven by unconscious compulsion rather than conscious choice. Awareness is the first step toward control. Voiceover. Step 2. Practice informational fasting. Choose 1 day a week, a digital Sabbath. On this day, you are free to consume information. You can read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts. But you are forbidden from creating. No posting, no commenting, no liking, no sharing. Your only role is to be a silent observer. This simple act does something profound. It starves the part of your brain that is addicted to external validation. It forces you to process what you learn for its own sake, to form thoughts that are not immediately packaged for public consumption. It allows you to have an opinion without the desperate need to perform that opinion for others. It teaches you the forgotten art of simply thinking. Voiceover. Step 3. Embrace the alias. Create a new, completely anonymous account on a platform of your choice. This is not for trolling, for harassment, or for any malicious act. Think of it as your digital monastery. A silent, protected space. Use this alias to follow subjects you are genuinely curious about, but which have nothing to do with your public brand. Follow astrophysicists, mycologists, classical architects, historians of ancient Rome. Use this account only to learn, to listen, to ask sincere questions without the weight of your established identity. This is a space to be a student again, a space to be a beginner. It is a space to have thoughts, not to broadcast them. It reminds you that the purpose of knowledge is to enrich your own mind, not to decorate your public profile. Voiceover. Step 4. Master the art of the unsent draft. The next time you feel that familiar surge of digital emotion, the outrage at an injustice, the desperate need to correct someone who is wrong on the internet, the burning desire to share a clever retort, do not post it. Instead, open a blank text document. Write it all down. Pour every ounce of that emotion into the text. Refine your argument. Polish your wit. Craft the perfect, devastating response. Read it back to yourself. And then, close the document. Without saving. You must understand that the primary beneficiary of articulating a thought is the person who articulates it. You have already received 90% of the value of the act. You have clarified your own thinking. You have processed your own emotion. To then throw it into the digital void is, most of the time, an act of pure ego. The world does not need another drop of noise in its deafening ocean of outrage. You have given the thought to yourself. And in a world that demands you give everything away, keeping a thought for yourself is a radical act. Phase 5. The proof. Visual. We see archival-style footage from Ghost in the Shell. Standalone complex. The Laughing Man confronting a corrupt CEO. The proliferation of the Laughing Man logo as graffiti. The final, quiet meeting between the original Laughing Man and Major Kusanagi. Voiceover. Does this philosophy of strategic withdrawal actually work? Does it create change, or is it merely a quietist retreat? The proof is in the outcome of the Laughing Man incident itself. His final act wasn't a grand, public victory lap. He didn't unmask himself to a cheering crowd. His ultimate success was a quiet conversation, a passing of vital information to the one person who could use it to enact systemic change. He succeeded because he never craved fame or recognition. His sole objective was the dissemination of truth. Once the information was in the right hands, his persona was no longer necessary. He could dissolve back into the noise of the network. The thousands of copycats, the social phenomenon, the fact that his symbol became a permanent part of the cultural lexicon, that was the proof that his method worked. The idea, once properly seeded, became a self-perpetuating entity, far more powerful and resilient than any single person could ever hope to be. Visual. The screen shows a stark, black background. A string of hexadecimal code morphs into the Bitcoin symbol. Then, images of Guy Fawkes masks used by the hacktivist group Anonymous. Voiceover. This is not science fiction. We see echoes of this principle in our own world. Consider the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. He, she, or they created a technology with the potential to fundamentally rewire the global financial system. They published the white paper, launched the network, and then vanished. Completely. Because Satoshi is a ghost, the idea itself, decentralization, is all that remains to be engaged with. There is no CEO to subpoena. There is no founder to discredit. There is no leader whose personal flaws can be used to tear down the entire project. The idea was given to the world, and a huge part of its power lies in the absolute anonymity of its origin. The logic is inescapable. In a world of total surveillance and performative identity, the only true pockets of power are found in the disciplined control of one's own data, one's own image, one's own mind. By refusing to compulsively play the game of personal branding, you remove yourself as a target and as a product. You cease to be a collection of data points to be monetized. You become an observer, a learner, a strategist. This is not a retreat from the world. It is a strategic repositioning to a place of greater perspective, clarity, and genuine power. Phase 6. The call to action. Visual. We return to the final shot from the beginning. The serene, melancholic cityscape through the rain-streaked window. The focus is soft. The mood is contemplative. Voiceover. The Laughing Man chose his mask for a reason. The quote circling his face was his mission statement. What I thought I'd do is, I'd pretend I was one of those deaf mutes. A total rejection of the world's noisy, phony demands. So now, I ask you. If you had to choose a symbol, a line of poetry, a quote, or a piece of code to cover your own face online, a digital mask that represents your core idea rather than your personal identity, what would it be? Share your digital mask in the comments below. Let us see the ideas you believe are worth fighting for, independent of the faces that hold them. Voiceover. We are all, in our own way, ghosts in this machine. If you believe in exploring these liminal spaces between humanity and technology, in finding the signal within the noise, then subscribe and join our silent collective at Digital Ghost. Voiceover. The Laughing Man weaponized information by detaching it from his identity. But what happens when the information itself becomes self-aware? When the ghost in the machine is no longer a metaphor? To continue down this path, I recommend our next session, The Puppet Master. Consciousness in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Stay vigilant. Stay thoughtful.